It began with the sound of cannons over the Black Sea and the clash of empires on a windswept frontier. The Crimean War, fought from 1853 to 1856, was more than a regional struggle. It was a contest that reshaped European power, revealed the fragility of great empires, and introduced the modern world to the horrors of industrialized war. At its heart were questions of religion, sovereignty, and ambition, but its impact would echo far beyond the battlefields of the Crimean Peninsula. The roots of the war lay deep in the rivalry between the declining Ottoman Empire and the rising ambitions of Tsarist Russia. For centuries, the Ottoman sultans had ruled vast territories stretching from the Balkans to the Middle East. But by the mid-19th century, the empire was seen by Europe as the sick man on the Bosporus, a crumbling power vulnerable to partition. Russia, under Tsar Nicholas I, looked southward with determination. He believed himself destined to extend Russian influence into Ottoman lands, to protect Orthodox Christians, and to gain access to warm-water ports. "We have on our hands a dying man," Nicholas reportedly declared. "We must not allow him to die alone." But Russia's ambitions collided with another force, the so-called balance of power in Europe. Britain and France, suspicious of Russian expansion and its potential control of Mediterranean trade routes, prepared to intervene. The Holy Land also played its role. Disputes over the rights of Christian minorities in Jerusalem became the spark. The French, under Napoleon III, claimed to defend Catholic interests. The Russians pressed their role as protectors of the Orthodox Church. What might have been a minor quarrel over keys to a church in Bethlehem ignited the powder keg of imperial rivalry. By 1853, Nicholas I moved first. Russian armies crossed into Ottoman territories along the Danube. The Ottomans declared war in October. The conflict escalated rapidly. On November 30, 1853, Russian warships annihilated an Ottoman fleet at Sinope, a brutal bombardment that left hundreds dead and Europe horrified. The destruction was described in chilling terms by British newspapers, which declared that Russian aggression had gone too far. Soon Britain and France joined the Ottomans, not out of love for Istanbul, but to contain Russia. The stage was set for one of the most grueling campaigns of the century. In September 1854, an Allied expeditionary force of British, French, and Ottoman troops landed on the Crimean Peninsula. Their goal was bold: capture Sevastopol, the heavily fortified Russian naval base on the Black Sea. What followed was a grim siege that lasted almost a year, defined by poor planning, disease, and extraordinary sacrifice. At Alma in September 1854, the Allies won their first major battle, pushing Russian defenders back. Yet it was not decisive. Weeks later came Balaclava, remembered for the heroism and futility of the charge of the Light Brigade. Miscommunication sent British cavalry charging headlong into Russian artillery fire. Alfred, Lord Tennyson, immortalized the moment in his poem, "Into the valley of death rode the 600." The charge achieved nothing strategically, but its image of valor and tragedy became legend. The Crimean landscape itself became a silent enemy. Bitter winters, supply shortages, and disease devastated armies more than bullets. Typhus, cholera, and frostbite claimed tens of thousands of lives. Reports of soldiers lacking boots, tents, or medical care shocked the British public. The war marked a turning point in journalism. Correspondents like William Howard Russell of the Times brought raw, unfiltered accounts from the front, exposing government mismanagement. Amid the misery, new figures emerged. Florence Nightingale, known as the Lady with the Lamp, revolutionized battlefield medicine. In military hospitals at Scutari, she introduced hygiene standards, reduced mortality, and became a symbol of compassion. Her work transformed nursing into a respected profession, and set the stage for modern medical care in war. The siege of Sevastopol dragged on for 11 months. Allied artillery pounded the Russian defenses, while Russian engineers dug intricate networks of trenches. It was a grim foreshadowing of trench warfare to come in the First World War. In September 1855, after relentless bombardment, the French stormed the Malakoff redoubt. The Russians evacuated Sevastopol, sinking their own ships to block the harbor. For the Allies, it was a hard-won victory, but at staggering cost. The war concluded in early 1856 with the Treaty of Paris. Russia, humiliated, agreed to demilitarize the Black Sea and abandon claims to protect Ottoman Christians. The Ottoman Empire was preserved, temporarily. Britain and France proclaimed victory, but their triumph was hollow, achieved at the cost of nearly 500,000 lives lost to battle and disease. The immediate consequences were profound. Russia, shaken, began a period of internal reform under Alexander II, including the emancipation of the serfs. The Ottomans, though saved, remained weakened, still prey to nationalist revolts and foreign interference. For Britain and France, the war demonstrated the need for military modernization and better logistics. The world had witnessed the power of modern artillery, the use of railways and telegraphs in warfare, and the new role of the press in shaping public opinion. The legacy of the Crimean War endured long after the guns fell silent. It was one of the first conflicts to be photographed, bringing images of war to the public in ways never seen before. It changed perceptions of both heroism and suffering. The romantic image of gallant charges clashed with the stark reality of mass graves and wounded men dying in filthy hospitals. It exposed the incompetence of governments unprepared for modern conflict and set precedents for humanitarian intervention and medical care. Today, the Crimean War is remembered as a tragic struggle that bridged the old and new eras of warfare. Its echoes can still be felt in the geopolitics of the Black Sea, a region that remains contested to this day. The war revealed the fragility of empires, the cost of ambition, and the enduring human need to find meaning in sacrifice. This was the Crimean conflict of 1853 to 1856, a war born of faith and empire, fought in mud and blood, remembered in poetry and photographs. It was a warning of what the industrial age would bring to the battlefield: more death, more destruction, and yet, glimpses of compassion that would shape the modern world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into history. Creating episodes like this requires deep research and care to honor the past with accuracy and dignity. If you value high-quality historical storytelling, consider supporting the work that brings these stories to life, so that the lessons of history are never forgotten.